I need to get some better lighting in here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I've had my first cup of coffee. Actually, I had 2 cups of coffee in like 2 months. So I'm feeling pretty energized. I used to drink like 10 cups of coffee a day, 4 sugars each cup, not good for the health. And now I just had like 2 coffees with some cream I had left over from cooking a friend some pasta the other day, because I don't even eat these days. So I had to use up the cream, and I thought, I'll make some coffee, treat myself, and I'm feeling really energized. So here I am. I thought I'd do a live stream. 4 viewers so far, but I thought I'd maybe get some action from the West Coast and places where it's still Sunday, but who knows? Maybe I've ruined myself already by making some stupid show yesterday about Bitcoin Cash. Basically, what happened was a few months ago I joined the Bitcoin Cash channel just for fun, just to get in the channels and see what people are saying. And I got banned for no reason. I got banned for being me, basically. So that happened. I didn't know at the time, but the other day I got allowed back in because I lent the owner, I donated the owner of the channel some Lightning Network beads, strangely enough, which there's a gambling bot we use in the Telegram group where Bitcoiners from all sides gamble. Somebody donated some Lightning beads to me for the other video, so I gambled them away. And I donated, and I made a joke about let me back in the group, and he let me back in the group. And I looked at the message history from when I was banned, and the first message was from Colin Enstad saying, "Oh, good. I'm glad that Jim got banned. Thanks for banning him." So obviously, Colin gets triggered by my presence, and then I started messaging Colin in the group saying we should do a show together. Because we're 2 reasonably looking guys, we could probably onboard a lot of females to crypto. Maybe I could do the BSV side, he could do the BCH side. Maybe we could find somebody from BTC. Obviously not somebody like Shinobi, if you remember him from the Hotep Jesus show, because he came with like a Blockstream hat and a mask on his face. So we need to find, I don't know how many of them are out there, how many BTCers are out there who actually show their faces, but we could probably find one who's reasonable looking. So, we could have a show with 3 Bitcoiners, 3 different types of Bitcoiners. Obviously, there's only one real Bitcoiner, aimed at attracting people. But, Colin didn't like it. Colin actually left the group, and I saw his message as kind of like a signal saying to the administrators of the group, look, I've gone. If you want me back, then ban Jimmy. And I thought, hang about, this ain't right. Okay, Colin is a big media personality in Bitcoin Cash. So I thought, as a way of saving my account in that group, and right now I am still a member of that group, I better become a Bitcoin Cash personality quickly. So that's what I tried to do with that video. And so far it's worked. They actually believe that I am a Bitcoin Casher, maybe, but I'm still in the group. It proves that Colin is a big cuck. It proves that Colin cannot handle being outside of, cannot handle any sort of puncturing of the bubble that he lives in. Even when people start trolling him on his show, sending messages, donating spice or whatever, he soon ups the rate because he just kind of handle criticism. He just kind of handle things, and he's just like many big cashers. He loves censorship. They want to live in anarchy without government, but would you really want these people to be in charge? Because somebody's going to take charge of the local communities and stuff, and these guys are going to take charge, and they're going to want to censor you from thinking about things that they don't agree with, so they would basically become the new government. So I wouldn't trust any of these ANCAPs. I wouldn't trust any big casher to, maybe Rob, because Rob's a good guy. He's let me back in the group. He's not banned me, so I won't talk bad about all of them. There's good and bad in every group, but the majority of the big cashers I see, any attempt to go against any of their narratives, they censor and shut them down. Even poor, I'll call him Jay because he complains that I've been doxing him. Let's call him Jay. He actually admitted that he was a big casher. He came into BSV. I kind of like helped him do that transition. I put a lot of my time and trust and faith in him, and I felt kind of like proud. I even got him on Captain's show, and I don't think he was tricking us. I think he was in BSV for that time, but then he left BSV. He went to Nano, and then he went back to Bcash. And when he came back to Bcash, because he'd been banned so many times from Reddit, he kind of like started attacking me very heavily and attacking Crypto Rebel very heavily, attacking Craig Wright and Calvin and BSV very heavily. And he admitted that he wasn't really doing it to attack. He was doing it to show them that he was attacking us. So he was a good Bcasher, so let him back in BTC. And it turns out he had a conversation with David Shares, the infamous Bitcoin XIO, who knows that he's a sock puppet with a new account, who's been banned like 5 times, but there he is. He's back in our BTC posting. Well, he was until he deleted his account today. That's another story. Emerging enemy, he was called Emerging Enemy or something like that. He deleted his account because we sussed him out. We sussed him out a while ago, and that's it really. Bcash is, as long as you're in the group saying Bcash is the world money, Craig is Aussie man bad, Craig is a fraud, and all this stuff. As long as you're with the narratives, even if you are a sock puppet, even if you are somebody who's been banned before, they'll generally let you back in the group and help you stay there. Okay, so that was the reason I did my Bcash or Bitcoin Cash. Not Bcash, I did call it Bitcoin Cash because I didn't want to upset them. Is Bitcoin, and even Calvin Air got confused. I saw a reply to a tweet. It was KP Dad who made the tweet, and Calvin replied saying, that I was confused or spinning or whatever. Don't need to follow me anyway. Fair enough. Calvin kind of got confused. I'm sure he didn't watch the video, but if he did or whatever, who cares? Anyway, yeah, I need more lighting. I haven't got any, so I should buy a lamp. I should buy a better camera. I should buy a better microphone. I should buy a better computer. I should do all this stuff. I haven't actually got one of those portable lamps with the movable thing. I should get one of those at least. I generally work most in the day, and I don't like working under a lot of light anyway. I use the light from the screen. I'm very much a sunlight guy or darkness computer light guy. So yeah, I need to get some lighting if I'm going to try and do any of this professionally, but I don't think I am. Like I said, I'm not interested in getting inside the BSV circle jerk or climbing the ladder, being invited on MetaNet or being in important channels or interviewing important people, because I don't really care. I'm just here just to try and do something good with Bitcoin SV, try and see it become something useful, maybe not for me in my lifetime, but for my kids and their kids. So my monitor is full brightness. This is it, you get like, this is me. This is like the dark side of my face, the light side of my face, like I'm kind of like maybe Darth Vader, I've got good things to say about BSV, I've got bad things to say about BSV, so this is like the, what's that guy, the guy from Batman or something? Is it from Batman, the guy with the 2 faces? There we are, that's me, I'm the 2-faced guy. So let's have a look at the toolbox. Yeah, wonderful makeup. You see that? Thanks, Cincinnati Jack. Hi, Spartan. Or he wants to see a detailed discussion of David Allen's sabotage of BCH. That's probably going to have to be another show. I need to prepare some show notes about that. This one, I'm just basically doing it from a PDF, which I've got, which I'll get into in a minute, and also from memory and also from thoughts I've been having. Colin only likes Bernie Bros. Yeah, on my video, on the Bcash video, I didn't actually accept donations to me. I told everybody to donate to Eat BCH on Twitter, which is a charity that apparently gives people in Venezuela food, or donate to Bernie Sanders or Hayden Otto. So any Bcashers who want to donate for that show, please donate to one of those free causes. I love Jimmy, says Spartan. I love you too, Spartan. We all do. Dude, you posted David's stuff on Reddit. Yeah, I did, but come on, Spartan. How many posts have I made on Reddit? I mean, if I remembered everything I posted, I'd probably be smarter than Craig Wright. Where can we donate to Jimmy? Okay, jimmynlose@moneybutton.com. I'll write it in the troll box. Moneybutton.com. I don't use hand cash, so don't send me anything to $. I only use self-custodial wallets. I don't use custodial wallets. I don't use non-custodial wallets. I use self-custodial wallets. If you're confused about what is a self-custodial wallet is, a self-custodial wallet is what we used to call non-custodial wallets before Handcash said that they were a non-custodial wallet, and the BSV community accepted that. So, you know, we really have to change the narrative, and now we have 3 different types of wallet, because a non-custodial wallet, you could argue that Handcash is a non-custodial wallet because you don't have custody of your funds, they don't have custody of your funds, nobody has custody of your funds. So that's why it's still a non-custodial wallet. Whereas a self-custodial wallet is you and only you have custody of your funds. So that's the sort of wallet that I like. MoneyButton is that sort of wallet. You might think, well, MoneyButton's a website, but if you look how it works, it's non-custodial. It's all handled on the JavaScript side. On your side, you've got the seed words. You can import those seed words into Electron, for instance. So you can actually, if MoneyButton crashed tomorrow, if it went bust or broke or hacked, or, you know, the server went down. If it got hacked, they can't steal your money. But if the server went down and they just disappeared off the face of the earth, you could, as long as you write those seed words down, which there is an option, you go in there, you can see your seed words, you can recover your MoneyButton. But as always, any sort of wallet, whether it's online like MoneyButton, whether it's Handcash, whether it's Simply Cash or whatever, I believe in any sort of electronic based wallet. You're always probably best to have a paper, or even better, those pressed metal things, you know, where you bash it all in metal. So if your house burns down, you can probably find a piece of metal stamped with your keys. Those sorts of wallets, paper wallets or metal wallets. I wouldn't trust a Trezor. I wouldn't buy a Trezor because it's, you know, why spend money? Why spend even $50 buying a Trezor when you could buy $50 of BSV with that Bitcoin and use $1 to buy some paper and some ink to print it out on a paper wallet. So yeah, and also some people recommend using cell phones to do it. Yeah, if you want to do that, don't use Handcash. Use something like Simply Cash, where it is self-custodial. Don't use something like Handcash, because imagine if you'd had a Handcash One wallet, using that for cold storage, you wake up from a coma or whatever next year, it's probably going to be quite hard to do stuff with a Handcash One, upgrading to Handcash 2 and all this stuff. So anyway, so where are we going with the show? Okay, what's the title of the show? I can't remember the title of the show. It's something to do with proof of work. It's all about proof of work. So yeah, let's go on to proof of work. Some quite interesting news, good news. Don't want to be spreading bad news all the time and negative vibes. Tokenized. So finally, we've got some action from Tokenized. Team of James Belding and his team. And Brendan Lee, I'm not sure he works with James Belding or he's a fan of what, because he works for another company, Failure or something, but he's come up with a Tokenized agent setup guide, which you can download it from, I don't even know, is it tokenized.com? I'm not sure what the Tokenized website is. But anyway, you can find it on Telegram in the Tokenized group as well. There's a forum, I think, as well, where you can go and find information. I'm not going to go through how to do all this because, to be honest, I haven't got time. 1. Number 2, I'm not running a full node, which right now the software needs a full node. And 3, I'm not Brendan Lee. And I think this is probably Brendan Lee's gig, and he's probably doing a video or making videos on how to do it. So, you know, he knows more about Tokenized than I do, so probably best to listen to him. What I will say is this PDF explains things quite nicely. I've not really had any questions looking at it. It seems pretty simple to me. What I would say, Windows users, there is I think there are Windows users who are running Bitcoin nodes using WSL, which is Windows subsystem for Linux and all this stuff. I wouldn't do that. I mean, come on, guys. Professional software these days, servers and all this stuff, unless you're doing something like a Windows mail server or locking yourself in, go and use Linux. And you can use WSL, but also you could fire up VirtualBox and install Linux on your VirtualBox. It's just so much easier using Linux, man. It's so much easier using Linux for all these sorts of nodes and tools, and you get better performance, you get better reliability, and ultimately, if you're hosting it somewhere one day on a server, or you're having your own server at home or whatever, and you're doing things legally, because of course nobody pirates Windows, then you have it for free with Linux. You don't have to pay Microsoft these licensing fees and stuff. And Linux works better. I mean, the only time that you could argue Windows works better is for a graphical front end. And of course, all this software doesn't have graphical front end. It's all console-based stuff. So why run it on Windows? Why be scared of Linux? You learn a bit of Linux. If you can't handle learning Linux, it's going to be hard learning Bitcoin. So, learn a bit of Linux. So yeah, explains how you set it up. The node, it has to be a full node. It's starting to rain. Okay. Node has to be a full node, and it goes through how to do it all, how to write your first smart contract, which is a simple, basically a hello world contract, I guess. It's starting to rain quite interestingly. What was I going to say? One thing that's interesting is this full node thing. Right now, you need a full node, but for those of you who've ever run pruning nodes, I mean, you have the pruning node option where you can say, I want to allocate 1,000 megabytes to blocks. So you run it pruned like that, which means that you store the UTXO, which right now I think is about 3 gigabytes, maybe 2.5 gigabytes, plus you store 1 gigabyte, 1,000 bytes of block history, the most recent blocks. That is how basically a pruning node works. And you could say 50 gigabytes or 100 gigabytes or whatever, however many you feel comfortable with or you've got the disk space for. But there is a special option that not a lot of people know with pruning nodes. If you put the option 1 for the size, what it actually does, it doesn't prune it to 1 megabyte because that's impossible. What it does is it allows you to use the RPC interface to selectively prune blocks. So if you could imagine, I guess with a bit of work, this tokenized daemon, it can be changed to allow working maybe with a prune node, providing you start the prune node and sync it before you do your smart contract stuff. So your smart contract stuff is in later blocks, or you sync it up to the block where your smart contract is put into the blockchain. And then from there, you let the node handle selectively pruning the blocks. So the node would go through. And also, when you start the node, the Bitcoin node, you can say, don't sync. So just start and sit there. And you can actually manually control it with RPC commands, saying sync to the next block, sync to the next block, sync to the next block. So it doesn't take a lot of imagination to imagine that somebody sooner, I think, will hack around with that software to allow people to run tokenized on a prune node. But also, of course, there is people who will let you, I'm not sure for free, maybe you've got some good contacts somewhere, somebody will, where you can access other people's nodes, maybe for a fixed price, maybe for a price per lookup or whatever, where you can connect your tokenized client, the tokenized daemon, to a third-party node. And of course, relying on that it's untrusted, that you don't need to trust it. You can check that the block hash is correct, the transactions you're receiving, the Merkle the Merkle tree is correct and all this stuff. So there'd be no chance of anybody giving you crappy information, and you could connect to a full node ran by somebody else, which will be a service. And of course, you're probably paying BSV for that, and it'll be automatic. So right now, running a full node is within the realms of most people. I personally don't run one because I like to use. I'd rather rent. When I rent VPSs, I'd rather rent, say, 4 VPSs for $5 each, which give you like 1 gigabyte of memory, 20 gigabytes of disk space, 1 core. I'd rather have 4 of those servers and spread my workload between those 4 servers than rent 1 server that gives you 4 cores and 4 megabytes or whatever. Because that's the way I roll. That's the way I do things. I like doing things very minimalistic, low requirements. So obviously, you know, if you can get away doing it on a $5 node, then it makes sense. So that's where I'd like to see it going. Maybe not right now because it's kind of launching, but I guess it has launched. I'm not sure. Like I said, I've not really gone into it that much, but it's nice to see something out there. And of course, you know, as the knowledge base improves, as Brendan goes and makes tutorials, and other people in the space make tutorials, and people get inside of other people's contracts and look exactly what others are doing and learn. And you know, the best way of learning is by following and taking to pieces or investigating what others are doing. We're going to have some smart things happening, some smart ideas, and you know, it will just improve like everything else. So yeah, Cincinnati Jack asks, when will tokenized come to fruition? Well, I guess it kind of is now. Is it as big as people are anticipating? Well, there is kind of like a sense that a lot of people are waiting to dive into BSV, not for technological reasons, I don't think right now. Maybe there is. Maybe people are waiting for Genesis, the Genesis upgrade, which makes sense because right now there are a few things, especially in the scripting language, which affects only the tokenized language. There are a few things unstable or that will be changed, and people, it is documented what is changing, what's been removed, what new features are going to be there. But people really, especially programmers, really do like to see things actually there rather than announcements. You know, proof of work, is it there rather than proof of announcement? So when we see the Genesis upgrade actually going live, I mean, people can obviously, if you're running a BSV Bitcoin-based business right now, then you need to be, if you're doing anything special other than simple receiving of payments, then you need to go and check that your node and your software and your internal systems will handle the upgrade to Genesis, and you can do that by testing with a new version of the node software. But yeah, when that's set in stone, the scripting language is going to be set in stone. A lot of it is going to be set in stone. There will be a few more hard forks to finalize a few little things. But basically, if you were to imagine it, we're building a house. The foundations, Genesis, the foundations will be there. Let's say the sewage piping underneath the house, or underneath where the concrete has been poured for building. You know, with the if you've ever seen how a house is built, you've got like the parts where they're going to start building the walls. It's all concrete poured. You'll get the walls in and all this stuff. It's all prepared, and you'll have like the piping laid. That will be how it is, and you could argue, okay, well, the next hard fork will be to once your house is built or you've started building your house, you're going to put the plastic piping in the walls, and in those walls you pass the electricity cables. So when the next hard fork comes, they're going to connect electricity to your house. You know, but you know, whatever. You know, probably a bad analogy. I'm just making it as I go along. You're going to be able to. You're going to know that this is going to be solid and you can build on it from the Genesis upgrade. and any other new hard fork is going to be an addition of something rather than some change of anything. So the foundations are going to be rock solid. So that is really what we're waiting for this whole thing to take off. From the technical level, the political level, the legal level, well, we all know all about that. And that some people, even if BSV, well, it is demonstrating that they've got the best tech. They're asking here, will it kill Ethereum? It should do. I mean, Ethereum doesn't scale. It's got big problems. It's getting slower. You need more and more and more money to run a node. It's kind of like, certainly in, I'd call hobbyist. I would say hobbyist is like spending $5 a month on something. So, a Raspberry Pi hobbyist level, you can run Bitcoin SV nodes. Don't tell Craig this. You can run a prune node quite well on a Raspberry Pi. I've actually run a prune node on the latest version of Bitcoin SV. This only works because we've got streaming blocks, which are changes that Shadows did. We've got parallel validation and all this stuff. If they hadn't done these changes, it wouldn't work. But you can actually run it on a 256 megabyte RAM machine. So it certainly works on a virtual machine. It works on a Raspberry Pi. And Ethereum, and it works on a $5 VPS as a prune node, obviously. But Ethereum, you can run it prune, but it kind of like ruins the whole thing of being able to do many things that Ethereum promises that way. And anyway, to sync up, if you want to run a full node on Ethereum, it really is outside of hobbyist bounds. You need, the last time I did an Ethereum node was about a year ago, and ended up renting a server with 2 SSDs in a RAID 0 array, which is called a striped array, which is really dumb to use, but it was, just to get it set up quick, where it uses both FSDs at the same time to kind of like store things, the idea being twice as quick in a striped array. Because one SSD by itself it probably would be quick enough, but it would take a hell of a long time. I mean, this took like 5 days to sync using 2 SSDs. I don't want to imagine how long it takes now. And there's just so many bugs and problems with the early blocks as well in Ethereum, where it can be like a day syncing some of the early blocks. And that's with parity node. It really is a mess. It's just getting worse. And so yeah, I think it should be able to kill Ethereum, because most of the logic of the smart contract is going to be ran only by people interested in the smart contract, which is the parties transacting in the contract. I mean, there might even be some parts, especially maybe not with tokenized, but other ways of doing scripting, and how Craig calls his Turing complete stuff, where and you got to think about unwriters overpull and all these things, where you read something from the blockchain that goes into your computer program running on your machine, that gets processed in whatever way you want, doing whatever you want based on the input, and then you go and write that back out to the blockchain, and then maybe you go and read an output from that back in again, back into another program, or somebody else reads it, and those involved with you will be running the same program as you from the same input. Their ultimate check that you've done your work, that it's fair, will be that they will get the same output. But you could have it where, say, only me and Cincinnati Jack have access to this program because we're the only ones interested in it, because we're doing some smart contracting stuff with each other, so that nobody else could do it anyway. That could be a security feature, On Ethereum, it's pretty much, I think all the contracts are pretty much public, unless you can like try and hide the source or encrypt it or something, but it seems to be that way, because everybody, no, you can't, because every single node has to run that smart contract, even if they've got nothing to do with it, even if the operators of the node don't care about it. So it doesn't make sense. It can't scale, because if there was, there's going to be in the future 10 billion people in the world. Let's say that there's, I don't know, 1 billion houses in the world, or 2 billion houses in the world. Imagine the work involved just to handle the contracts once every, I don't know, say on average a house is bought and sold every 20 years. I don't know, do the math, folks, but it's going to be millions of contracts every year just to handle house sales. You add on top of that car sales and car ownership, and then you try and even think of stupid little contracts and smart things, $50 contracts, I don't know, the gym membership contract or whatever for everyone in the world who goes to the gym, and you just can't do all this stuff on Ethereum. It's just going to fall over. Whereas, I don't know, a gym membership contract, only the members of the gym and only the gym itself and the companies around the gym have to be involved in that contract. So, you know, it's kind of like, it scales, because it's you know, it's another thing. It's all about the simplicity on the basic level. Going back to Genesis, none of this seg shit stuff. SegWit makes Bitcoin, BTC, bloody complicated. So many bugs and errors have happened, not in BTC itself, although there has been a few things, but mostly with coders trying to use seg shit, exchanges trying to use seg shit, finding themselves in all sorts of vulnerabilities and even money being lost, because it's complicated. It's more complicated than how BTC used to be, how Bitcoin SV is now, and I suppose you could even say how Bitcoin Cash largely is, in that its simplicity. If you think of all the blockchains out there, whether you're looking at Dash, and you look at Dash for instance, that's kind of like started off kind of like BTC, but now it's got all these other things with these nodes and these special master nodes and all these special ways of doing things. And look what Bcash is going to do with Avalanche. All these things are complicating the base protocol, which is not good. A Lightning Network on BTC, if you want to argue that Lightning Network is BTC, I don't think it is. I think it's LN beads. It's another system. You lock up your BTC, you transition to LN beads, and then you use these LN beads, and at the end of the day, you lock up the LN beads, and then you transition, or you destroy the LN beads, and you transition back to BTC again. It's just all complicated crap, basically. If it's simple, which is a very Linux philosophy, KISS they call it, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. People trust in it, and that's what we need, because it's money. You can't fuck around with money. You need to be able to trust in it. Any reasonably competent programmer can understand how Bitcoin works, even if they don't understand the economics and all this stuff, even if they don't really understand the game theory. Just saying, you know, it's a stream of transactions. It gets written to a stream of blocks roughly every 10 minutes that has this hashing done that proves that somebody invested a lot of time in making this block, to a big risk to themselves if the block's wrong. And that block streams out and everybody reads the block, and everyone reads in the transaction streams, checking that they're okay, and then more transactions are streamed. It's all about streams. It's all about streaming in, streaming out. It's very effective. It's very stupid word, tech word, very sexy, I guess. Tech, simple, stupid, easy to understand at a tech level, and that's what makes it good for money, and that's what makes all these sorts of changes. It's not really people like being biblical, saying, "Oh, we must respect the white paper. We must respect the white paper." It's not because of that. It's because the white paper really was the core of the system. Core is probably not a good word to use, but the nucleus of the system. It really was the most simple way it can be done. And anything else complicated, look at tokenized. Tokenized, I'm sure that it's as complicated as hell, but it doesn't matter, because tokenized could be replaced by tokens OS or whatever, you know, and then you'd have a choice. Do I want to use tokenized, or do I want to use tokens OS? None of it is affecting the base protocol. You know, if there was a bug in tokenized, there wouldn't be a bug in Bitcoin. Right now, if there's a bug in SegWit, which certain person seems to be saying that there is, we haven't seen it yet, but that affects Bitcoin, BTC. You know, so the whole idea of keeping it simple and building on top applications and complicated things is the way to go. So yeah. Any more comments? Let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Am I allowed to speak about Jeffrey Epstein? Oh dear. Oh, I got kind of like a bit paranoid that people might come and kill me if I start speaking about Jeffrey Epstein. But fuck it, I'm jimmynlose. I'll speak about Jeffrey Epstein. So I wanted to speak about this many a times. I never really got around to it. My idea for using the blockchain, how the blockchain could have stopped Jeffrey Epstein from killing himself, of course. Just imagine, you know, because I know that a lot of people are kind of freaked out, thinking like, especially with BSV, saying BSV, pro-government, get the government involved. A lot of people are kind of freaked out, thinking, hey, could this be like 1984? Could this be like Brave New World? Could this be Mark of the Beast, chips in our hands? We can only use BSV if we're good citizens signed up to the system and all this stuff. Fair enough, I get those points. I would never take a chip in my hand. If it got to a point where things happening like that, I would get out of BSV straight away. I like the idea of changing the government so that the government doesn't become this big brother government. We become big brother, and the government is Winston Smith in a transparent box who we can watch, and we can set rats on them ultimately if they do wrong. I mean, personally, my political views these days, I'm monarchist. I'd love to see a monarchy, families in each country dedicated to doing the best to that country. I mean, maybe the USA, we could start with the Trumps, I don't know. They don't really have any royal bloodlines in the USA. But the basic idea is don't give them a four-year mandate to do something. Give them a mandate, you know, say, do it. You know, you go ahead and do it. You believe in the country, it's your country. Go ahead and do it, royal family. And maybe if in 10 years' time they haven't done it, or maybe they've been found out doing bad things, I'm all for monarchy, providing we have guillotines. So, you know, if it don't work out, chop off all their heads, put in another monarchy. That's the way I like to see things, because this democracy stuff, personally, I think it's a load of bullshit. Certainly for now. Maybe blockchain and Bitcoin can change all of this. But anyway, back to the Epstein thing. Yeah. So imagine I said about, you know, people are worried about their rights as free citizens and being monitored, and that all your purchases monitored on the blockchain, all this stuff. What about prisoners? I think it's perfectly fine that prisoners have less rights. I mean, they're criminals. They're in jail for a reason. They already do have less rights. They don't have the freedom of movement, do they? They don't have the freedom to go where they want. They're locked up. So I think from a prisoner point of view, there is a security issue in that it probably wouldn't be a good idea to broadcast onto the blockchain in real time the location of every single prisoner, because, you know, that might help with people trying to break them out and stuff. But there are ways around that. That could be broadcast in real time, but encrypted. So you could have the movements of every single prisoner, say every 30 seconds or every minute, pinged onto the blockchain as a GPS coordinate. You could have their heartbeat, because they could be wired up to a machine. You could have their heartbeat, their blood pressure, the same every 30 seconds. So you've got the GPS, heartbeat, blood pressure, whatever other signs of life are useful. And also the same, I hope you can hear this rain here. Also the same for the prison. You can have entries, as in entries of people, entries of vehicles. The weight of every vehicle that comes in gets weighed as it enters, weighed as it leaves. I don't know, so imagine the laundry van comes in with the laundry, you weigh it, the laundry gets taken off, the laundry's weighed and the van leaves, the weight of the van should be what it was when it entered minus the weight of the laundry, shouldn't it? You know, the weight of the van was heavier, maybe it's leaving with something it shouldn't. Or if it entered heavier than the laundry, maybe it came in with the laundry plus something else that it shouldn't have come in with. But all these sorts of things could be done and published encrypted onto the blockchain in real time. Maybe you could even have video cameras or certainly stills every 30 seconds as well from various locations published encrypted onto the blockchain as well. Door openings, any opening of doors in a prison, bang, goes to the blockchain. Who opened the door as well? It will be done with maybe irises or something which links each prison guard. It's probably not identified who they are on the blockchain, but they're given a reference number and the prison knows who they are. So, you know, everybody's actions are recorded. And also, yeah, monitor the prison guards. Where are the prison guards? You know, where are the lawyers who come into the prison to visit their clients or whatever? Put them all ankle bracelets or whatever temporarily and monitor the movements of absolutely everybody inside a prison, especially a maximum security prison like the one down in Manhattan. So you might be thinking, well, this is all stuff encrypted. So what happens if Epstein kills himself and the government says, oh, shit. You know, like they said today, you know, like I said these days, oh, we've lost the video footage or the video footage didn't work or whatever. They could say, we lost the encryption keys. You know, sorry, guys. We'd love to tell you what Epstein was doing, where he was, who came into the prison, who left the prison, but we lost the encryption keys. Well, there's a way around that. And it's quite simple, really. Because you can have it kind of like, remember I spoke about Bitcoin is streaming? Well, this can be kind of like streaming. How long do you need for security to be able to reveal where somebody was at a particular time? Maybe an hour is good enough. So maybe the encryption can be decrypted after an hour, or maybe 6 hours. I don't know, maybe it's different depending on what particular thing you're looking at. I mean, a door opening, door closing, after a minute that can be broadcast on the blockchain, maybe, you know. So that can be decrypted on the blockchain. So the way I would do it, I would say maybe have it, let's just imagine it's 6 hours. So 4 times a day, you push down a decryption key, you publish it onto the blockchain, which decrypts the, not the last 6 hours, because you'll be decrypting right up to the current time, the 6 hours before that. So you have 6 hours encrypted, then you have another 6 hours encrypted, then you have a key published to publish the first 6 hours, and then you have another 6 hours, and then you have another key to decrypt the next 6 hours. So you're always 6 hours behind on the decryption. So you might think, well, what happens if they just don't publish the keys? They don't publish the decryption keys. Well, then you can tie it in so that they get paid every 6 hours, and they pay people every 6 hours, and they get their income from the government every 6 hours. So what happens is the whole act of paying their staff, of receiving their money, and as function as a prison, only works whilst they are decrypting. So as soon as they stop decrypting, they don't get paid. They don't receive any income. They can't spend any income with suppliers or whatever. They freeze. And there's no way you can say, oh, well, let's miss this 6 hours, because it all depends on the last 6 hours. So basically, they would be in serious trouble and would have to move to manual operations and all sorts of things and all sorts of crap and all sorts of problems if somehow they stopped. And I don't think if it was set up properly, I don't think there'd be a way of stopping it. There wouldn't be a way of being able to stop them or making them so they could destroy the decryption keys, because, you know, you could have the stuff on site, obviously, then you can have a copy of whatever they're doing, whatever software they're running that handles all this in another location, so, or 3 locations or 4 locations. And of course, anything on the blockchain is in many locations. So all you really have to look after is a little decryption key, really, every 6 hours. which could even be something printed on paper at the end of the day, you know, that somebody stores in a safe, you know, so you can't even say that hackers stole it. You know, you need physical access to kind of screw this whole system up. So that is how Epstein wouldn't have killed himself if we had Bitcoin used inside jails. So, you know, maybe that's a good use case for Bitcoin. I'll carry on with the troll box. Let's have a look. Proof of Jim. Yeah, Jim. I don't know why people could still call me Jim. I think I used to be called Jim a long time ago because my name's Jim, and Google wanted my surname, and I couldn't really think of one, so I put Jim. Now, of course, I'm telling the world, you know, my surname's Lose. Of course, my middle name's Never, so it doesn't sound so bad, my surname. Jimmy, when will tokenized? Oh, we've just been really cool. CBA, I've not looked. I've not really, all the news, all the announcements that we get on Bitcoin, I've not really had time to look at Epstein for a long time. I do remember like 5 minutes after it was announced that he died, I was probably suggesting that he hadn't died. But you know, who knows? Oh yeah, there's a lot of connections with BTC and Epstein, Digital Currency Group, also MIT, Currency Labs, Joy Ito, all this stuff. Brooke Pierce, probably all connected with David Allen as well. Who knows? There's a hell of a lot of mess and a hell of a lot of scamming and shit in crypto. Okay, shadow ban would not consent to be chipped. Probationary tracking. Yeah, probationary tracking as well would be useful with the blockchain. Yeah, so anyway, the title of this show, I believe it's called Proof of Work and Just Build. That's what I want to say as well. Like, for instance, I'm hearing now that Calvin's tweeting that he's going to meet up with Craig next week and they're going to throw fire on some things or something. Is that right? That's just an announcement. Personally, I'm ignoring all such things. I'd rather Calvin, if it is about proof of work, next week, after he's had his meeting with Craig and after they've thrown fire on stuff, announce what they've done. This is my work I've done. This is my proof of work. Because ultimately, that's what they tell us to do. They tell us to build. We don't sit there. If we sat there saying, I'm going to build this, I'm going to build that, I'm going to build this, and this, and this, what would it be worth? Nothing. So why sit there announcing things that you're going to do with Craig? Just go ahead and do it. Because, come on, the track record of announcing things last year, unless we're speaking about Shadows or Connolly, who have been announcing Genesis and all this stuff, which is mostly all happened. There is a lot of things that haven't happened that have been announced. So proof of work, guys. Come on, Calvin. Proof of work. Stop announcing things that you're going to do. Just do it. Yeah, because otherwise, at best, it's kind of like you could see, you know, you're getting very carried away, very passionate about your love of Bitcoin. Or at worst, people could say it just seems like you're trying to pump the coin, you know. So, you know, proof of work, guys. Yeah, sick of hearing announcements. You know, any announcement I hear from Craig about he's going to do this, or I'm not listening to any of them anymore. I don't want it. Proof of work. I'm taking your advice, guys. Proof of work. That's what I want to see. Have I read CSW's book, The Method to His Mind? I've not read his book, to be honest. Is this the art? Is it The Art of Satoshi or something it's called? No, not The Art of Satoshi. I can't remember the name. There's something Satoshi. Was it his book, or was it written by somebody else, like somebody else ghost wrote it based on his blog posts, right? I don't know. I think there's been 2 books. I've not really, like I said, The Art of Bitcoin. There we go. I've always been into the tech since BTC. Then the promise of Bcash with big blocks. Big blocks didn't really happen. So my reason for the migration was because Craig was the only one really saying about big blocks, and I like Craig. I liked his attitude, kicking that, sparking up the space, shall we say, coming in with his "fuck you" attitude, swearing and stuff, which I thought was great because, you know, so many people try and be professionals when they're total idiots. It was nice to see somebody, I'm not going to say acting like an idiot, because I think swearing and stuff, I don't think it's acting like an idiot. It maybe upsets some people who think that, you know, if you've got a suit and tie on, you're professional and you're better than somebody who hasn't, or whatever. But I think it is really great what he did, like at Arnhem, saying "fuck you," you know, you're not going to spend $20,000. It was brilliant. So I did kind of like really like Craig when he came into the space. But ultimately, that wasn't my reason for switching to BSV, which I did before the fork. You can go and look on my memo.cash account, my memo.sv account, because it's there as well. My findings and my history or whatever. It was the tech, really. And it was also the politics of it. I didn't really like where Bitcoin Cash seemed to want to go with all the ANCAP stuff, and I've never really understood how you can really sit there saying fuck the government and all this stuff, when ultimately, even if you're Monero, the government can come at you and get you if they really, really want to. You got to think, what is Monero right now, for instance? Yeah, it's probably used by a load of pedos or whatever, but ultimately it's such a small market cap that the cost involved to go after it, which would mean basically trying to find out all the nodes and, you know, going after all the exchanges for one thing to stop the onboarding, you know, really cracking down on it and making it illegal and all this stuff, that people would have to take a choice. Do I want to get involved with this currency or not? Some people obviously still would, like, you know, people take heroin and cocaine and stuff knowing that in most places they're illegal. But, you know, the government, it would knock the price down to shit, any sort of thing like that, where people can't freely exchange it. And ultimately, you know, it would be a darknet thing, which, you know, the government can't really shut down Tor, the darknet. But and there is a place for the Tor and the darknet for people who need anonymity for, I don't know, for reporting stuff from very strict countries like Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia. You could probably even out of the USA or the UK, to be honest, with all the stuff the NSA is doing, Five Eyes and all that stuff. So, you know, the government, for any sort of mass adoption of currency, you cannot have the government against it, because it just won't work. I mean, you want to have a currency where you can go and spend it if you want. Go and spend it on a bag of weed, but also you can go and spend it on a lawyer. You know, your lawyer accepts it as well. And you can go and buy stuff in the supermarket with it as well. And you can buy gas or petrol with it, and you can buy a book with it, and you can earn it. I mean, you get taxed in it. That's the idea of where you want to be going. And you know, I still think there probably would be a market for some sort of a dark anonymous coin where you probably change your Bitcoin into that coin. And that could itself have a risk where you don't want to be associated changing into that coin, especially if the government says, you know, that coin's illegal or whatever. Or if it just gets you marked as somebody dealing with a currency that has dark uses. Why are you doing it? And I think Bitcoin, anyway, at mass scale, is private. Not anonymous, but it's private, which means that you can get away buying bags of weed, especially if you pay tax on it. If you pretended that it was the weed seller who sold you $100 bag of weed, pretended that he cut your grass, he cut your lawn for $100, and, you know, he even paid his tax on it or registered it as a job that he did for you. I mean, who the hell can find out if your lawn was cut or not, if that was just a hidden bag of weed? And would the government really care, even if weed was illegal, if they got tax money for it? I don't think so. So yeah, I've got 9 viewers right now. Shadow Band is speaking to me in the troll box. Has anybody got any questions? Or we're getting to the hour mark now. I'm happy to answer tech questions, legal questions maybe, political questions, I don't know. Or do I end the stream? Let's see. Let me go and have a look. Oh, I have some more news. while I'm thinking of it. This Nakamoto.com. They started up a Telegram group. Right now it's got 1,854 members, but today I saw a lot of BSVers, that's Bitcoiners, jumping in there on Telegram, and a lot of BTCs in the group didn't like it at all, calling us trolls and all this stuff. And the funny thing about the group, which I did enjoy actually, is that because it applies to everybody, which is fair. I mean, if something applies to everybody, it's pretty fair. Is that you can only write one message every 5 minutes. So it kind of like is annoying for those people who like to, if you imagine if you're trying to speak with 3 or 4 people at the same time, it's pretty annoying having to spend 20 minutes at least to write to those 4 people. Because you can only do one message every 5 minutes. But also it's kind of funny because everyone else can as well. So if you're arguing with somebody, you send a message to them, then they send the message to you, then that's it for 5 minutes until you fire off another one. So I actually called Richard Hart a fat bastard, but I kind of like did it in a nice way because I had like 5 minutes to come up with my response to trolling him. So they say it's to get rid of trolling, but I think it leads to intelligent trolling where you've got 5 minutes to think about how to troll somebody, 5 minutes to pick your next victim, shall we say. And anyway, what they did, they've stopped the group from being, you can't type into the group anymore. The group now is read only. They've shut it down, folks. They cannot handle, they're blaming the tools. They're blaming Telegram moderation tools. They're blaming trolls. There isn't many trolls. Trolls are what BTCers call Bitcoiners. That's what a troll is these days. Yeah. People who don't believe in the hodl bullshit, they're trolls. Yeah. So the BTCers were the ones complaining about trolls. Somebody complained about me. I've never met them before. Don't know who they are. I guess I must have some sort of infamy that comes before me because of my name or whatever. Probably somebody who watched one of my shows or something, calling me a troll. And basically they couldn't handle it and they've shut it down. So you can only read from the group now. Nobody can write there. They've made some sort of announcement that they're going to do some paid for chat or something. But it seems like a load of bollocks to me anyway. I've not even looked at the site. I think it's run by scammers or something. But it just seems to like the thing of the moment. Everyone on Telegram was saying, get in that group because, Vitalik's there and Richard Hart's there. And there's quite a few other people there. And, we thought we'll get in that group as BSVers and represent ourselves. And they didn't like it at all, the BTCers. But, if you go look on Telegram, there's a chat room owned by a guy called Coin Agnostic called P2P Chat. I'll throw it in the troll box now. This is where I spend most of my time on Telegram. I'm a moderator of another group, but I don't really spend a lot of time there because I like to hear what the other coins are saying. I like a bit of fighting and trolling. That's where I hang out in the Bitcoin P2P Telegram group, which is full of BTCers, a few Bcashers. We all kind of love to hate each other, I guess. So a big shout out to any of those guys from there if they're listening. I know there's a few BSVers, Bitcoiners who are, but and it's proof that a group can be ran by people without, and it can manage trolls. And who says trolling's bad anyway? It can handle. I don't know if you'll be able to handle 10,000 people at the same time in a chat. That's another problem. But certainly it can handle quite a lot of users who not very nice to each other sometimes. But then this is the internet. This whole there's a big difference between, say, threatening somebody's life on the internet or just calling somebody an asshole or calling somebody a son of a bitch or whatever. I certainly hope that people are a little bit more bulletproof, but obviously they're not, because we go back to Colin Instad. He kind of gets triggered and freaked out just by my presence in the same chat room as him. Even though he's got no idea where I live, but I don't live anywhere near him. I'm no threat to him. Like, how can I hurt Colin Enstad? Calling him an asshole maybe, or calling him a cuck. I mean, come on. What else? What's going on? Why are people so easily hurt? I guess why does all this happen? By the way, your video, fees facilitate money laundering, is really interesting. Also splitting money transactions to make it harder to follow. Yeah, that was a good video I made. That was one that I made before the Bitcoin Cash spoof video. Quite an interesting thing. Spartan's asking me, do I know if the 25 chain TX limit is being lifted at Genesis? I don't believe it is, Spartan. And I also think it's something that the miners could do without a half. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think it is. That's the last I heard, but I seem to remember I read something, so I'm not really 100% sure on that. I think also that it's not as urgent and necessary for us as it is, for instance, Bitcoin Cash. Because Bitcoin Cash, for instance, if you go look at memo.cash, I think that, or no, if you can look at some sort of website that needs to store a lot of op return data, what they do is they cheat, because their op returns are very limited in bite size. So they kind of like stitch 2 op returns together, or 3 or 4 op returns together, and that is a chain of transactions. So you can quite easily swallow up the chain of transactions, and also fighting around with these shitty simple ledger protocol tokens. You can quite easily go to the 25 to breach the max of chain transactions. Of course, we've got SLP on Bitcoin SV as well, but nobody uses it. I did a show. Go and look at my video history. I did a show all about Colin Enstad, not saying, we trolled him, saying, SLP is on Bitcoin SV as well. And he said, no, it's not, no, it's not, no, it's not. Until basically he had to admit that it was, that it's always been on Bitcoin SV. It's not an exclusive Bitcoin Cash technology like they try and say here. The difference is that we're not interested in it because we know it's dumb. We know Spice is dumb. Honk is dumb. There's another one, I can't remember the name, a new one, I think, but these are just dumb. Why would you tip somebody Spice token when you can tip them Bitcoin Cash? Just a little bit of Bitcoin Cash. What is all you're doing is devaluing Bitcoin Cash. Some stupid token that somebody, well, I know who it was, it's a Spice Toshi, otherwise known as Super Nerd, made Spice. Was it, I don't know, it must be like well, here's the Satoshi Nakamoto of Spice, Spice Toshi, but what really did he make? I mean, think of the work that, whether you believe it is Craig Wright or not, the work involved in making Bitcoin, the software, we're thinking of the idea, the protocol, the software, the white paper, testing it, getting it all working and rolled out. That was a hell of a lot of work, a hell of a lot of man hours. Now, if you look at the work involved in Spice, it was 30 seconds clicking a button saying Spice, make, I don't know how many tokens there are, 300 million tokens, or maybe there's 300 billion, I don't know. And we'll send a few out to a few important people for free just to get it rolling. And now all of a sudden Spice tokens have a value in BCH. Why, people? Why? I mean, it's just dumb. Come on, Bcashers. If you're going to tip people in Bcash. Well, I shouldn't say, no, keep tipping them in Spice, because if you tip them in Bcash, it devalues Bcash. So yeah, if you tip them in Spice, it devalues Spice. So it devalues Bcash. So yeah, keep tipping them in Spice, tip them in Honk and all this stuff. Don't use Bitcoin Cash for tipping. Use Spice and Honk. Make some more tokens. Make Tonk and make Super Spice. Do it all. Make Spice 2. Make a load of SLP tokens. I mean, I think I made about 1,000 SLP tokens on the Bcash chain, mostly for technical trolling. Make some more, fill it up with these tokens and have so many tokens for tipping that nobody knows what's worth tipping and what isn't worth tipping anymore. Just fill up your whole thing so you've got more SLP tokens with some tiny little value than coin market cap has coins and shit tokens. Just do that. Give you a whole subsystem of shit tokens and shit coins on Bitcoin Cash, Whereas on Bitcoin, as in Bitcoin SV, we've got tokenized, We've got like a professional token. We've not got this sand, kids in the sand stuff, toy box stuff that is SLP tokens. Simple ledger protocol, or as I call it, dumbass ledger protocol. We have got proper tokens, pro-business tokens that can be used by government and all sorts of things and actually really have value and do interesting things. That's tokenized, whereas SLP is duh, spice, duh, honk. That's what it is, come on. Okay, so let's have a look. See any more comments? Yeah, I guess I'm going to read the Art of Bitcoin someday. So many things to read, and problem is in this space, things change so quickly, which is why it's nice to know that if you go back to Andreas Antonopoulos, his early Bitcoin books, at least on our coin, the first edition of it is a Mastering Bitcoin, before it had all this seg shit stuff, before Segwit was there, most of it is actually compatible with our coin today. Whereas on BTC, if you need to do stuff, you really do need to use Segwit, because everyone these days is using, well, nearly everyone is using Segwit addresses. Why? Because it's cheaper. Why? Because it makes a difference when the transaction fees can be so high that you've got a Segwit address. So it's more complicated. Bitcoin is the only value, everything else is just a reference. And that's by BSV is Bitcoin. So I'm guessing, if we're at what, say we're at $100 now, I think we are a bit more than 100, I think we're like 110, but say we're at $100 and BTC is at, say it's at $7,000. They're 70 times more the reference price right now. I guess you could say that. The dollar is 100 times less than the reference price. Yeah, Bitcoin it's going to be the reference. If best tech, we're going to get there. We're going to be the reference for everything. The time will come when they start pricing gold. I don't mean there are some gold tokens and stuff. I think the Eliaphron is doing. I can't remember the name, but I mean, when the big boys in gold, the gold markets and the silver markets, when they all start pricing in Bitcoin, that's when we know we've made it. When oil is priced in Bitcoin, all these resources, all these things that are traded like wheat and corn and all this stuff, sugar, when they're priced in Bitcoin, it's only, we've made it. That's it. What happens to the dollar? Some people go along with the idea. I think even Craig, that it can still exist as an inflationary currency running on our chain, which I guess it can. But at some point along the way, I mean, you can be maybe something like using tokenized. I don't know how exactly what tokenized can do, but I imagine you can create some sort of inflationary currency using tokenized. I think that's one of their aims in like the first stage of their development, is that they want to be able to do that. I think you can probably do it now. I've not really looked, to be honest. It would be interesting, but I think still at some point along the way, people are going to work out, why this thing that keeps inflating, because everyone will be able to see the inflation, which is the big difference. It's all about openness and transparency. Yeah, you can, though. I think they do publish, the Federal Reserve do publish probably every quarter or every month or whatever, how many notes they've printed or whatever. But it really is trust as well, because I've always, who knows, who knows how corrupt the government is. I mean, just imagine that it's not true. Just imagine that Epstein didn't kill himself. Of course he did, but imagine if he didn't. Imagine the level of corruption involved to do that, to kill him, to get him killed, right in the prison system, one of the biggest, most secure prisons in the USA. I mean, that's where Chapo Guzman was sent to. That's where El Chapo was sent to before his trial. He was there. So it really is one of the most secure places. So imagine that level of corruption. How much more corruption do they need to say, oh, we've made this many dollars, whether they're speaking real printed dollars or probably computer dollars. They just press a button and magically, like a tether printer, more dollars appear at various banks in their computer systems in their database. How do we really trust those values? At least if we had the US dollar on chain being inflated, we would see what the inflation was, and we'd see it the moment it gets inflated, the moment it gets printed. And I guess at some point people would wake up and say, well, why aren't we just using Bitcoin? Because that doesn't get inflated. Why am I using this when every year what I can buy with this, especially in speaking of other currencies like the Venezuelan bolivar, I don't know, the Bolivia, I don't know what they use in Bolivia, the peso, I don't know, Argentina peso, Chile, I think it's the peso, I'm not sure. But these sorts of countries, Russia, and all these countries where there's high inflation, when their currencies on the blockchain, what are people going to think? Seeing the inflation happening all the time, and seeing that the cost to buy a car or the cost to buy stuff at the supermarket just increases all the time in their local currency. But they notice that in Bitcoin the price is always the same, or maybe it even drops a little because things get more competitive. So I think it's Ed. Hi Ed. Hi Luke. Ed saying, I'm pretty sure Bitcoin, bracket BSV, just to emphasize that, will become global money currency as a last step in its global adoption. I think he's right. I think using USD, GBP, EUR, other currencies on chain, it's kind of like a Trojan horse. The story of the Trojan horse. I mean, these days the Trojan horse is a virus, but back in the day, and the reason why the viruses are called Trojan horses is because it's a nasty thing disguised as a gift. So Troy, the city of Troy, outside there's a big wooden horse presented as a gift, a wooden horse on wheels, and inside the wooden horse there's a load of soldiers. So they let the wooden horse into the city, receiving their gift, and then out jumped the soldiers, and the soldiers killed everybody or whatever and took over the city. So we would be the nasty thing, taking over world money, presenting ourselves first as something that can help government by giving them a cheaper option of managing currency, by giving them the USD, the euro, and everything on chain. And then by the time we're running everywhere, our blockchain is being used by every single bank, every single retail establishment, every single person in their cell phone, everywhere. At that point, our soldiers jump out and bang, goodbye USD on chain. Everyone's using Bitcoin now. No more inflation. That's what we need to do. And that's the same as we need to do with government on chain, which is probably not the first thing, but it's certainly going to be one of the early things, because there's always the problem of until you can pay your taxes, or until because I guess that doesn't matter if the USD's on chain. The government, that's part of getting the government on chain, getting the government to like the blockchain, having USD and EUR and GBP on chain. But also there's the whole, I was speaking about the Epstein prison thing, having the government use Bitcoin. So, or even, like I said earlier, I'm a monarchist, having the monarchy using Bitcoin. Really need to start, even if a monarchy, or even if you've got a democratic government or whatever, there's always local state workers, local people working for the state. So they're the people who need to be on chain, and they're the people you need to be monitoring. So you've got your, I guess it all comes down to geography, doesn't it? You've got your local mayor, maybe, of your town, or maybe even someone of a district, Even you could say you've got the guy responsible for driving the machine that sweeps your streets, or you've got the guys responsible for picking up your trash. You've got the guys who work for the council responsible for cutting the grass in all the public areas of the street or parks and stuff, and you can see what they're doing. You can see their work being done on the blockchain, and you can see their costs. And say if you've got a company that makes, you've got a company that does things, and you can say, hang about, why is it costing for refuse collection? Why are we paying this exorbitant amount when I'm sure my private company could do it for this amount of money? You're going to have competing from all sorts of things, because the costs will all be visible. The costs won't be able to be hidden, because right now, I wouldn't even, all these costs I'm sure there's shady things going on everywhere where they probably say that it costs X amount of dollars or pounds or whatever for refuse collection, but it really doesn't. It's cheaper than that, but they use some of that money either to steal it for themselves or to put it in another fund, which costs more than they say it does, So if you can see where the costs are going, it offers the ability really for, I guess, more privatization of parts of government, which means more competition, and all these things. So it begins, on-chain government begins at a local level, getting your local political people in the different opposing parties to maybe accept Bitcoin on-chain at first, and then get them to put their manifesto on-chain. If they put their manifesto on-chain, that's, the political manifesto is stuff that they say they're going to do if they get elected, then it's immutable. So if they put that on chain, then at least we all know they won't do half the things they said. You've got a record of that. You can say, hey, we've got you. You didn't do these things. And they're going to quickly learn about blockchain. They're going to learn to love it or learn to hate it. And the ones who hate it are the ones you shouldn't vote for, the ones you should be careful of, because they're not the ones who are open or transparent. We could see a whole shift in politics where the honest guys and girls, the transparent guys and girls, the open people, they're going to be the ones tuned into blockchain, because they've got nothing to, they say about the people, nothing to hide, nothing to fear. What about the politicians? Let's switch it around. I want the politicians who have nothing to hide and nothing to fear. Those people are going to be the ones receptive to blockchain, because it gives them the advantage over the shady politicians, who a lot of people think maybe it's most politicians. So it'd be interesting to see these people getting on chain and bringing their offices and their management and their funding of everything that they're doing on chain. And you'd be surprised, the people who are manipulating the world or manipulating certain countries are only a few people. It's a pyramid, isn't it? So the power structure is really a few at the top, and the few at the bottom, the masses at the bottom can overtopple the ones at the top. Problem right now is mostly when countries have political revolutions and change and stuff, people think that they've flipped everything over, but they haven't. There's still that little piece at the top, which is always the same and always has been, mostly, who give you the illusion that you just had a revolution in your country, or this party's lost and that party's won, but they still work for the same people at the top, or they're still subservient to them. But if you control all the movements of money and currency and work and all this stuff from the bottom levels, then you're automatically controlling the top, because it's never going to, it always comes from the bottom. Your work, your productive work. We're the ones who run the country, if you like, productively. The guys at the bottom, the guys doing stuff, they're the ones lazing around at the top. So if we track it all and we start to get it all on chain, we really can change things. So this is why I like the idea, not of necessarily uploading anything on chain, uploading personal stuff on chain. I like the idea of uploading business stuff on chain, business records, mostly data, mostly textual stuff, which is cheap to upload as well. So this is how we can really change things. Okay, 1 hour, 20 minutes now. Can I carry on? Well, I said this is the first cup of coffee I've had in 2 months, so I'm still feeling that caffeine boost. I probably do need a cigarette though. Keep it a secret. Because AI going to be all over this shit. AI is interesting. I think AI is kind of like I think a lot of people overestimate AI and what it can do. Maybe it's because of the movies and stuff, but also it has kind of changed because it seems to have got a lot more intelligent in the last few years than it used to be. But that's mainly due to the fact that they're kind of like mass learning from us, and by that I mean like voice recognition. The only reason it's so much better now is because they've got so many data sets of different people speaking in different accents and different tones. That and they've got that raw data, which has helped basically because of the internet, and that they can whether they're monitoring videos like maybe this one, they're probably recording on they're doing it. All the audio that I speak to analyze it for dirty words and bad words. They're also trying to analyze what I'm saying to improve their AI voice detection. So somebody who has a voice similar to mine, it will work on them too. So that's AI. It's kind of like, I understand how people can think, wow, it's really advancing, but if you get to the basics of it, it isn't. It's kind of like that's not computer thinking. It's computer learning. I would say it's cheating. It's not artificial intelligence. There's never going to be. I mean, what would be the ultimate artificial intelligence would be an AI that can go and create new AIs which are better than itself. Will that ever happen? No, I don't think it will. But is AI, as people call it, going to advance more? Yeah, of course it is. You're going to end up with this sort of things getting now, but you're going to end up with killer robots and stuff and going out and fighting wars, which would be quite scary actually if one guy can control the whole army so easily. And you're going to have good things as well, more AI and more robots involved in saving people in fires or saving people on operating tables and all these sorts of things. Mostly, like Craig says, there needs to be a human element in everything. You can't have like smart contracts that don't listen to you when you say, look, I don't know, maybe your job is you're a gardener. Look, I've broken my arm this month. Please don't take my house from me. I've broken my arm. I can't work. Well, I'm not going to have to work so well. I'm not going to work with one arm this month. So, please don't take away my house. I'll make it up next month. If you've got Cody's Law and smart contracts and all this stuff that say you've got to pay this amount of money every month or they take your house, then this guy's going to lose. Where's the human element? Ultimately, it's not good for the business to do that to the guy because it just makes the whole thing worse. Like, it's not good for Bitcoin, for instance, to prune all data uploads now because it's not going to make us look any good either. So you need a human element to say, hang on, let this guy, give this guy another month, let him make it up. His arm will be fixed. He'll be working well again. That's how it should work. Okay, I'm thinking of closing now. 1 minute 23. Check if we've got any more questions. Ed is saying he's selling all of his BSV. No, he's just kidding. They tried to do a joke there. I don't know if a mug design, how about that one says BSV Kool-Aid or something like that with Kool-Aid in it. CSW, yeah, okay. Government data, scientific data, money, TX data, business data, private should be kept privately. Yeah, the only thing people should keep an eye on is their private keys and wallet seeds. We should all try to build businesses together. Yeah, there is. I mean, one thing you've got to remember is with encryption, for instance, on the blockchain, once something is written to the blockchain, it's there forever. So if it's encrypted, fine. But what happens if your encryption key leaks, then or something? Then your data suddenly become public data forever, because an encryption key is probably going to be 256 bytes. It's very easy to save forever. Your stuff's there on the blockchain forever, which was private, but now all of a sudden it's public. So always think about what you are sharing on the blockchain. Especially, obviously there's going to be companies and there's going to be solutions to protect your keys, but so it's like all these companies that offer these services saying that they provide wallets and encrypted wallets, and you have to make phone calls to people to get access to your Bitcoin, and all this sorts of stuff, all these complicated things where you pay a subscription every month for this level of protection. But none of those things beat the $5 wrench attack, where somebody spends $5 and buys a wrench and goes to your house and threatens to kill you unless you reveal your keys. It ain't the person on the other end of the telephone's life whose life is on the line. They don't care. So you're going to call them and you're going to pretend that you actually want access to your keys, and you're going to do everything the kidnapper tells you to do. Otherwise you die. So, there's no security against that. So you've got to imagine the same thing with encrypted data on the chain. Unless there is some way of totally protecting things, which again, when there's humans involved, it's hard, which is why I said about the prison thing. Make it so the wages are the decryption keys. It's somehow, make it automated so that every 6 hours this happens. Yeah, okay, I think that's it really. Yeah, someone said smash the like button. Yeah, look down here, there's a like button. Oh, there's a thumbs down button. If you thought I've been speaking shit and you haven't liked it, vote either way. All feedback is good feedback. Maybe leave a comment. Of course, jimmynlose at moneybutton.com if you want to donate. Let me just type that properly. Go and check out my other videos on the channel. Go and check out a few other friendly channels. Channel BSV, Ed Bitcoin channel. I love Ed's videos. John BSV Train. Got the MetaNet channel. Got River and Satoshi. Quite a few channels. If I happen to be the first Bitcoin stream you've come across and you want to learn more, there's quite a few channels out there with a lot more history than me. But I do have quite a bit of history on other channels as well. So yeah, that's it, folks. Really, 1.5 hours. Still got my eyes are still wide open with caffeine, but I really am running out of a show now. I really can't think. What I need to do is I need to upgrade my my broadcasting and get OBS or whatever installed. Then I can have Google Hangouts, and then I can have all these other things and get people more involved. So right now my interaction is through the troll box. So thanks all for participating. JDC, Shadowband, Ivan, BSV's Bitcoin, Ed, Luke, Spartan, Cincinnati Jack. Thank all you guys for participating in the troll box. jimmynlose at moneybutton.com. Smash the like, smash subscribe, write a comment, whatever. You know where to find me on Telegram. Cheers, everybody, and goodbye. Oh.